OLED and 4K, what they'll change and what they may not. Smartwatches, the underestimated revolution on your wrist.
Welcome to the future.
And connected appliances finally start to make sense. Let's get a look at the next big thing. Hello and welcome. I'm Brian Cooley, in search of the next big thing. You know, the average American home has something like 3 televisions in it these days, and I'd wager most of those are working just fine, which, if you're a TV maker, is not great news. How do they get us to buy another one? 2 clues: OLED and 4K.
Sharp says it's their best designed TV they've ever produced.
This model here shows a cutaway so that you can see what the speakers will look like.
It has 4 times the pixel resolution of a standard 1080p television.
You can see some more fanciful concept frames that LG might start making.
Here's the bottom line. In 2012, LCD flat panel TV sales were off 1% globally, but all TV types combined were off 6%. And a big 18% in all the developed markets, and cratering in tech-saturated but economically cool Japan. Couple that with the fact that every survey and every user knows we're going to be watching less television on televisions going forward, and the TV makers have got to make a serious play with new technologies.
This is the XBR 850A series. It's Sony's least expensive 4K TV to date. It's Sony's tri-luminous display technology. It also has Sony's dynamic edge backlighting, so in all we expect this to be a really good performer.
Some of the interesting features of the TV: it features a front-firing speaker set with a subwoofer, and also includes an upscaler for all of the 1080p content that you already have, given that there's no 4K already.
This is the company's first to use OLED technology that allows the TV to achieve superior picture quality compared to current plasma and LED TVs. Unlike those standard TVs, this one has a curve, and that's one thing you can only get with OLED.
4K TV, I think, could be a bit of a crapshoot. First of all, it's primarily a fidelity argument in a nation that is not composed of a bunch of video files. It's waiting for more, really for any 4K content to really flourish, and that may be a while before there's a fat pipeline of that. Couple that with the fact that one of the big benefits of 4K is being able to sit closer to the TV, get more immersed in the picture, and not see the pixels. That's a conversation that really hasn't happened in the market yet. So these are all challenges to you really ever wanting it. I think OLED could be a different story. The core technology, organic light-emitting diodes, emit color and luminance on their own without any backlight behind them. That may sound like a technical nicety, but it actually makes 3 important, very obvious things happen. First of all, black. When an OLED TV wants to show black, it shows black. And that makes a big difference because then all the colors around it have that much more saturation and high contrast. The colors leap off the screen like no other TV. Then there's thin. Because OLED TVs have no backlight and their technology is very thin to begin with, the overall finished television can be as little as 1/3 of an inch thick front to back. They look fundamentally different on a wall or in your living room. Consumers buy TVs almost as much from the side these days as the front, so this is important. And finally, there's green. Consumers mostly give lip service to this more than wallet service, but OLED TVs have the potential to consume very little power, though the initial models are not that power stingy. Oh, by the way, I find the curved screen on some of the initial OLED TVs to be a bit of a red herring. I mean, it makes a mockery of the technology's innate thinness, turning 1/3 of an inch panel into about a 6-inch deep finished television. I think it's mostly there to let this technology stand out in the store in a sea of flat black panels. A key point: OLED televisions can work pretty much all of their magic on the content you watch today, where 4K TVs are sort of waiting for their knight in shining resolution in the form of native 4K content. Bottom line, 4K and OLED will likely merge and be what you buy in 3 to 5 years, making for a television like no other. Back in pursuit of the next big thing. You know, it's kind of fun these days telling folks about Google Glass and smartwatches because they give you that look like, what is wrong with you? Then I wait for the Dick Tracy jokes to subside and then tell them how smartwatches could have a real shot at ubiquity if they succeed in making our increasingly chaotic mobile devices simpler and more personal.
Welcome to the future.
Just a moment. I just got a message.
So you can put it up to your
ear like this and take calls privately.
Swipe down to activate the built-in camera, which lets you snap still images and 10-second videos.
Other uses could be taking a picture with your phone remotely, or checking your route while you're on a run, or controlling the volume of your music.
A gentle swipe takes you from one feature to another. Going back is as simple as swiping down from the top bezel.
Canalys Research predicts some 5 million smartwatches could sell in 2014. Nobody really knows, but even that goal could be awfully lofty if smartwatches as a group don't nail 3 things. First, look good. This is fashion, not just tech. But how many tech companies do you know are actually good at fashion? Apple is, Sony was. Google, Microsoft, not really. And startups like Pebble, they do have a certain new cachet, but not an established style language. Second, makes sense. Not just making it clear how to use a smartwatch, but why I would use one. The makers who get that done first, I think, will win first. Getting across the message that a smartwatch can thin out and surface the important stuff on our increasingly busy and vertical phones and tablets. In other words, play the hits of digital living on my wrist. And third, measure me. The market for fitness wearables is for real. Think of Fitbit Flex, Nike Fuel Band, Jawbone Up. Those overall will sell some 80 million units in 2014, over 200 million by 2018, and yet I don't think most people are going to want to wear both if they don't have to. So here's a place where smartwatches could eat a lot of lunches if they can roll up that body metrics piece, that fitness piece as well. You may have heard that CNET has begun doing appliance reviews. It's true. We don't focus on how the zucchini fares in the crisper, but how well these appliances are getting connected and smart. And it's about time.
Basically a socket that you can power on and off with your smartphone. And that's a really cool thing because you can plug anything into it and then make that into a remotely controlled device.
So if you wanted your porch light to come on at 6 p.m. for you to come home, it'll be there on waiting for you.
The HomeBot is a really smart vacuum. It's got this camera on the top that is taking dozens and dozens of photographs, and this helps it navigate and tell where it is, where it's been, and where it's going to go.
But now we get to the high water mark of this refrigerator, which is the LCD screen that Samsung includes above the ice and water dispenser. One of the things I really like about it is that when you have it just in home screen mode, it'll tell you the exact temperatures of the insides of both your freezer and your refrigerator, so that if there is a problem and you've lost power to one, you can always tell.
Now, to my mind, we're seeing 3 big changes around the landscape of smart appliances compared to 10 years ago when they first began to emerge. The first is the mobile ecosystem. Everything ties back to our phones and tablets these days persistently, and smart appliances will be no different. That gives them a more persistent presence in our lives. It also helps to make them more personal and less like, well, appliances. The second one is less pie in the sky. No one's talking so much anymore about the internet fridge replacing your computer, perhaps. Now it's a more practical vision, like a dryer that will message your phone when it's time to get the clothes out before they wrinkle. And then there's cloud smarts. Look at something like the Nest thermostat. Most of its goodness actually comes from its cloud back end, the data, the history, the processing and software that's out there behind it, not stuck on the wall. I'm also watching this sort of wild card area around replacement cycles of white goods or major appliances. Most of us are happy if the thing just works and dread replacing one, getting the old one taken out and the new one brought in and installed. Mobile devices, laptops, never had to go through that kind of friction. I also want to see how well these major appliance brands can morph themselves into tech and lifestyle brands. This is new territory for them. Hope you've enjoyed this edition, this first edition actually, of The Next Big Thing. Send me your emails with comments, ideas, or trends you want us to look into. We'll see you next time we go in pursuit of the next big thing.